all. This is your professor, Ian. This is a short video, well, hopefully short video lecture on theme in literature and fiction. So I'm just going to talk about theme. That's kind of our focus this week. So theme, it's a pretty baggy term. So, one definition we can use, this is from Abrams' literary terms dictionary, kind of a go-to resource. A theme can be defined as a general idea or insight conveyed by the work in its entirety. So it's still pretty vague, right? It's a big term, themes. So it's good for us to kind of narrow this down to help us think about theme in a more specific way. Because when we're talking about theme, it's an important thing to think about to help us move beyond the kind of superficial reading of stories. We want to think about what an author is trying to argue or explore in a story. And, even a story written just for entertainment has some kind of theme happening in it. There's, some kind of point the author is trying to make, even if the author is just exploring a mood or a kind of like formal experiment in plot structure or something like that. We could describe those all as theme. But it's important for us to get a little more specific with theme than just talking about topic. And I'll talk about the difference between topic and theme in a second. So a couple things. There could be several themes in a single work, right? Don't be limited by just thinking, oh, this work is about this one thing. This short story is about this one thing. Short stories can cover a number of different themes. Pardon me. They'll generally have, one main theme, of course, but there can be also other themes happening, right? And the theme is created by a combination of literary elements working together, especially in a good piece of literature, right? The better the literature is, the more coherently things work together to further the theme of the story, right? So the setting works in conjunction with the characterization and the dialogue, and it all works together towards one main purpose. I think we've all written, or maybe even written, but read bad literature where things don't really make sense, and you don't see the point, and the choices that the creator has made don't really fit. And that's where we're getting, this is, poorly created literature or whatnot, where the theme is not clear because things aren't working together coherently. Okay, so just a couple things about theme. I want to talk about three things that theme is not. This is a good way to help us define or narrow down what we're talking about when we talk about theme. So three things. I don't know why it says two things there. Three things that a theme is not is plot detail, cliche, or a single word. Okay, so. Theme is not just the plot detail. The plot is the plot. That's the instance that happened in the story. Theme has to do with the significance of those things that happen in the story. So, for example, Secret Stream, one of the first stories we read, is about Nathan and Sophia exploring little-known places in LA while Nathan develops feelings for Sophia, right? So that's the basic plot of Secret Stream. But that's not what the story is about, right? That's just a description of the plot. So that's not the theme. That's just a plot, right? Theme is also not a cliche. Sometimes people will boil theme down to a cliche. So Secret Stream is about one-sided love, right? Nathan is kind of developing feelings for Sophia, and we don't know what Sophia is feeling, right? So one-sided love and the ways we impose our ideas about people upon them, right? So Nathan has this idea of what Sophia is, and she continually kind of like wiggles out from that. So we could come up with a statement about this and think about that theme about one-sided love and imposing ideas. But we need to be more specific than saying, never judge a book by its cover. That's a well-known cliche that kind of covers what we're talking about here, right? But not really, right? Or, you should always stop and smell the roses, or love is blind. Those kind of cliches, right? Try to avoid a cliche when you're thinking about a theme. Because, in a good piece of literature, the author is trying to push beyond cliche. There's no point in writing a story or a piece of fiction that just, tries to explore a well-known cliche like love is blind. What's the point of that? You want to put a unique twist on it. You want to explore it in a different way. And so a writer of a good piece of fiction is always trying to explore an idea in a new way. And it might be well-known territory, as I note here. If you've read Araby, what I put up for a bonus story. The story is exploring, the naive quality of first love. That's one of the topics of the story. And that's there are millions of stories about that, right? There's a whole genre of fiction called Bildungsroman, which means like coming of age, right? And it's usually about first love. But Joyce is, trying to offer you a unique take on this. He's trying to explore the way romantic ideals are destroyed by rubbing against the real world, if you will. So a theme is not a cliche, and a theme is not a single word. So this is where I was getting to topic and theme. When we're talking about, anytime you think the theme is a single word, you're probably thinking about a topic, which is a more broad term that just means something that the story is about, rather than getting to the message and the idea that the author is trying to explore, right? So, and a story can have a lot of topics. It can be about a lot of things, and it can have multiple themes, but it can have a whole ton of topics, right? So Secret Stream and Araby, they're both about love, right? They're both two stories about love, but very different takes on love, right? And that's where we get into theme. So topic, yes, Secret Stream are both about the same topic, love, other topics as well. But then if you want to talk about the theme of each story, you need to think about what the author is saying about that topic. Okay, so what theme is? Theme, if you're going to talk about the theme, it's a whole sentence, right? It's not just 3 words. It's not a cliche. It's not one word. It's a whole thought out sentence. This is going to help you develop a more sophisticated idea of a sophisticated method to describe what a story is about. So one thing I like to do is move from topic to theme. And to do so, ask yourself, what the author is using this story to say about the topic. So what is Joyce using Araby to say about love? What is Tobar using Secret Stream to say about love? Or what is Lady with a Lamp being used to say about friendship and female codes of communication, things like that, right? So let's look at a little example here. So if we take a minute, this is what I like to do, and list topics that come up in Secret Stream, right? So if I'm trying to define what the theme of a story is, I'll just brainstorm. Okay, what are some topics that come up in the story? What are some of the things that are covered? Some of the things that it's about, and then I'll create a sentence about this topic, the topic I find most important in the story, using this formula. The author of Secret Stream believes that whatever topic I've chosen is, and then what they're thinking about it. And then I'll revise it, especially if I'm writing a paper or something like that. So let me take you through the process I'm talking about. Secret Stream, some things it's about. It's about loneliness. Nathan is lonely. Sophia is described as being lonely, kind of. Love, gender. It's about water. They're finding secret streams about hidden places in LA. It's about, or I have gender twice. You could also put, perspective, sexuality. We could go on with topics here. But the point is to find, some of the main topics that the story is about, and then use that to come up with your kind of thesis statement about what the theme is. So the author of Secret Stream believes that gender and love are tied together, right? Because we get this very gendered depiction of love in the story. It's all Nathan's perspective. Gender and love are tied together, and there is a tendency for men to impose their ideas about women on any potential suitor. Now, I'm generalizing a bit here. Nathan isn't all men. Sophia isn't all women. But I think that's partially how you're supposed to read the story. That's what I would argue. It's always good when you're thinking about a theme to think a little maybe controversial, right? Because Tobar isn't writing the story to, again, explore a cliche. He wants to explore a unique take on gender and love. So this is what I'm going to argue. And you can argue against me, but this is what I'm going to say I see as one of the themes of the story, one of the main themes. So I've used that formula. The author of Secret Stream believes that gender and love are tied together, and there's a tendency for men to impose their ideas about women on any potential suitor. Okay, so I've taken those topics, gender and love, and expanded on them by explaining what I think Tobar is trying to explore about these topics and their connection in this story. Then I can revise it. Secret Stream is about how gender and love are tied together and the tendency for men to impose their ideas about women on any potential suitor. So, just tightening it down so it doesn't sound as clunky, because this, the author of blah, 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 blah. Sounds a little clunky. You can just revise it, especially if you're writing a paper for a literature class or something. But that's what I think one of the main themes of Secret Stream is. And I can support that with textual evidence by going through the story. That's the other thing. If you want to double check, am I right about the theme? Think about the evidence. In fact, here are some tips for thinking about theme. Consider the title, right? Does the title point to a specific pattern or concern in the story? It does in Secret Stream, right? There's given my lens, my thematic lens that I'm using here, if you think about the title Secret Stream, it's super interesting because Sophia is trying to find these secret streams. Nathan is trying to find out the secret to Sophia, right? She is his kind of secret stream in the story, and he gives up when he realizes or feels like he's going to be hurt or something like that. So the title, look for recurring phrases, words, images, and symbols, the motifs. These are what we call motifs. If you get recurring images and symbols and such. If there's a pattern, how does it shape the narrative and how the conflict is resolved, right? So looking for patterns is basically what I'm encouraging here, especially on the language of level and imagery. And you could definitely do that in Secret Stream. One of the recurring patterns I see in the story is that we're constantly given an insight into what Nathan is thinking, and yet we're only given physical descriptions of Sophia and told how she might be thinking and feeling about things based on her expression and her body language and such. So we're constantly left to interpret Sophia through the lens of Nathan, and I think that we're supposed to see there's a bit of an imbalance there. That's what I would argue. Look for important statements or thoughts made by characters about a general concept. Is the author supposed to agree or disagree with these ideas? And again, that last point is important, that whole idea of empathy, which we've been talking about. Do you agree with this character? Do you empathize with them? Do you think that, because sometimes an author will use a character who is disliked to make a statement, and you're supposed to disagree with it, right? And if the villain is a racist, and yet the protagonist of the story, you're not supposed to think that racism is good. You're supposed to see that this is a bad person, and the things that they think are bad things, right? And then you take it from there. Or for Secret Stream, there's that part at the end where he finally kind of gets her poetry and gets that insight, and I think you're supposed to see that as kind of a breakthrough for this very kind of masculine character, or this character who shows the tendency of being overly masculine in his attempts to control gender with Sophia. 4, consider how a main character changes over the course of a story. Does the character realize some kind of truth about the world, right? And this goes back to epiphany, which we've been talking about. Oftentimes, short stories, especially because of their more concise format, will have a lesson learned in one way or another. Sometimes they don't, right? This isn't always done in short stories, but oftentimes the character growth will be easy to chart because of the nature of a short story. So again, with Nathan, we can definitely see he does change over the course of the story and work backwards from there, right? He realizes that he hasn't been open to Sophia's way of seeing the world at the end when he finally kind of gets her poetry. And then 5, consider the main conflict that drives the action of the story. How is this resolved? Right? So conflict is what sets in motion all the plot. So of course, this should be something you keep your eye on when you're thinking about the theme of the story, what the story is about. And again, with Nathan, the conflict seems to be him kind of getting over his, I don't know how you would explain it, because at one point he talks about how he was divorced and he's kind of lonely and trying to find love, and he seems to be having problems with this, and I think that's the conflict that's driving the action of that story. Nathan is wanting to fall in love with Sophia, and then he realizes he's just wanting to fall in love and maybe takes a step back and resolves the conflict in that way, right? And then you can build back from all these things to think about gender and love, like I was talking about earlier. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about theme. I just want to push everybody to think about theme as something more than just cliche or a topic, right? Or the plot of the story itself. Think about what the author is trying to explore or prove or argue. Okay, this could take many different forms. Okay, thank you very much.